Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Alignment with Jenn podcast. I am your host, Jenn, and today we are going to be talking all about how the feminine creates success differently than the masculine. So this is really going to be a very eye-opening episode. This is something that has taken me a long time to be able to actually teach and verbalize these concepts. It's something that I have intuitively lived and I have seen it in the world and with my clients, but it wasn't until the last few months that I've been able to verbalize it and I've really understood the spirituality and the energetics behind it. So I'm really excited to share this with you because the feminine creates success in a different way than the masculine creates success. And society has been set up to really support and encourage the masculine model of success. And it's typically success in business or in career. That's going to be what I'm speaking to today. But you can apply this in any area of your life. It will work in any area. What I believe is happening is that the masculine model of success is being overvalued and the feminine gifts are being kind of pushed to the side and not seen as valuable. And I believe that as feminine beings, right, 90% of my podcast listeners are women. So that's really who I'm speaking to. It's women or people who identify as having more female energy. That energy is extremely powerful and extremely valuable. And my hope is that through this episode, you will really learn to connect to that energy more and understand how you can become more successful financially in your business, in your career, by using your feminine gifts, because I believe that they have been so undervalued. And I think we're in a turning point in history where we really want to start to value these to create a better society overall. So I'm so excited to give this to you. I really want to give you basically a toolkit of how can you run your business or your career in a more feminine way that's going to allow you to feel less burned out. It's going to allow you to feel more fulfilled, more successful, to create higher levels of income and growth for yourself. So I hope you're really excited about this. I'm so excited to share this with you. So the modern working structure is built around the masculine model. It's literally built for a man's hormonal cycle. A man's hormonal cycle doesn't really change from day to day. A little bit from the morning, a little bit to the night, but very small amounts of change. A woman's drastically changes from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. We cycle on a month, men cycle on a 24-hour period. The 9 to 5, where every single day is the same amount of work, the same amount of things that you're going to be doing, is built for that masculine hormonal cycle. And in this episode, I'm going to say masculine and feminine, and I'm going to talk about men and women as well. But what I want to preface this with is know that masculine is a type of energy and feminine is a type of energy. Okay. And typically it tracks to women have more feminine energy and men have more masculine energy, but it's a spectrum, right? Some women are going to have more masculine energy and that's beautiful, right? Some men are going to have more feminine energy and that's beautiful. And so as you listen to this, don't say like, oh, I should be one way or I should be another way. Say, okay, what resonates with me about what Jenn is saying? What seems like it applies to me? Where do I think I fall on this spectrum? And it honestly might vary from life stage to life stage. There's been periods in my life where I feel like I've really been in my masculine and it didn't work for me because I naturally am far more feminine. And so learning to operate more following the feminine energy principles has been really helpful for me. So for you, I want you to listen to this and take what you want from it and recognize that whatever composition you are is literally perfect. You were designed to be exactly who you are. Exactly as you are. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want you to open up to see, could me leaning more into my feminine gifts be helpful in certain areas and me leaning more into my masculine gifts be more helpful? Because right now society is very focused on how the masculine does things. And I want us to understand the gifts of the feminine and use those more. So what I believe happens is if you are a more feminine energy woman, being too much in your masculine leads to burnout. It leads to feeling unfulfilled. It can lead to health problems because we simply are not designed to operate in that way. And so I want to start off by explaining the difference between what masculine energy is and what feminine energy is. And so masculine energy is really like the giver, the initiator. It is the force that drives things forward. It's outward, it's structured, it's logical, it's disciplined, right? It's more focused on the outcome than on the journey. It's very direct, it's linear, it's focused on the goal, right? The goal is a big deal. It's action-based, okay? And it moves towards an outcome. And it might look, some of the qualities of this might look like managing or directing or solving problems. The masculine energy loves to solve a problem versus the feminine energy doesn't necessarily need to solve a problem. Maybe she just wants to talk about it and share it and feel seen and heard. And the masculine energy initiates, it builds. It's this type of energy, and we'll get more into that. Versus the feminine energy is more of the receiving energy. So spiritually, this is talked about of the feminine being more of the vessel to basically receive. This is not passive. None of this is passive. It's the feminine is more intuitive. It's more grounding. It's more emotive, connected to emotions, connected to feelings. It's more deeply understanding. So the feminine has this insane quality to be able to really deeply understand things in a way that the masculine doesn't always understand them. The masculine has amazing gifts and strengths. One of them for the feminine is this deep ability to understand. I say understanding. This, I think, for a lot of women is going to be something that you just innately know, and you innately know exactly what I'm talking about. It's basically where you can have a conversation with someone and there isn't necessarily much said, but you know a lot more of what's going on for that person, right? Maybe it's their emotions. Maybe you just intuit something that's going on. It is this natural capacity to take this raw insight and turn it into something really, really meaningful. So an example that's often talked about is the man might purchase the home or buy the home or have the home, but the feminine comes into it and or the house, and she turns it into a home, right? She brings light, she brings color, she brings beauty into it. It's this ability to take something and turn it into something more than it once was. And it's this ability to really deeply understand the emotion and the connectivity. This is why a lot of research is showing that women make really great leaders, because women have this natural ability, or feminine energy has this natural ability to really connect and to really understand on a deep level what's going on. I'm sure this is true for you, where I'll be in a conversation with somebody and I'll just know things, and they won't have said those things, but I'll just know it, right? Or you might just know, oh, this is how things are going to work out, right? I just kind of know it, right? It's just this knowing that I have. I can't fully explain it. That's that intuitive, deep understanding that the feminine has. And it's a massive asset. It's a massive gift. I think sometimes what can happen, especially the women that I work with, or the women that I see who are deeply intuitive, who are deeply insightful, who are high achieving, who want to create a lot, have a lot of purpose in the world, is they can feel like they are not doing enough or they are not good enough because they are not the masculine model of success, right? They're not working from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and going and pushing themselves hard, because that's a different model of success. And that's really what I want to communicate here, is that there's another way to do things. And the feminine is naturally very magnetic, right? She's receptive. She draws things to her. She's very emotionally alive. She's very expressive, right? It's fun. It's enjoyable. She's a force that brings a lot of this spiritual potential into the physical reality. That's a big part of what the feminine does. And when you literally think about it, right, the feminine is able to take a soul and take it from the spiritual into the physical reality. That is the same thing that the feminine can do with ideas in business or in career. She can take a raw idea from the spiritual realm and bring it into the physical. And that is incredibly powerful, and she can turn it into something magnificent. Something I want to also point out is oftentimes there's a few caveats that can happen within this, and I'll get into those a little bit later, where I think the feminine can get stuck on creating because she believes it has to be a certain way, and she gets too stuck in one of these energies. The same can happen for the masculine, but I'm going to speak more to the feminine today. One is that believing that receiving is passive. So I received this email from a client last week, and she's like, I keep leaning back and waiting and just allowing things to happen, but nothing's happening. That's because receiving is not passive. There's two different pieces to it. part of it is, yes, receiving the idea, percolating the idea, creating the vessel to receive that idea. But part of it is actually taking the actions and the uncomfortable actions and moving into what feels uncomfortable. And those are a couple of the points where I think people can get stuck. Is one is they can not do this receiving piece where they're just going, and they're not actually allowing themselves to receive that idea. That's a big gift that the feminine has, is to receive clarity and to receive this knowing and this idea of what to create, what to manifest, whether that's a business idea or a next step to take. But sometimes what can happen is that can lean into just literally always leaning back and never actually taking enough action. You want to have both the masculine and the feminine energy to manifest and to create in the physical world. So understanding that there is a balance and you're going to need to use both. And that can look like what I see with a lot of women is they will do a lot of the energy work, right? The healing work that feels so good and feels so fun. And they will barely do any of the actual business creation or the work around their careers, right? I know someone, I had a friend who she was starting her coaching business, right? And she was doing so much of this receiving, so much of this inner work, but she wasn't doing a lot of the actual mechanics of what it takes to build a business, right? The masculine of the posting content, the putting her offers out there, the sales element of selling what you have to offer. Those are also important. And that's that balance of the masculine and the feminine. And you want to have both. You don't want to just always be doing action. That's what I think gets overvalued. And that's what can lead to burnout for women, is we still want to have this period where we're understanding, where we're gestating an idea and receiving an idea and growing it. And we also want to take the action on that idea as well. We want to do both. And it is your own internal journey that helps you understand what that balance might be for you. One thing I want to also touch on is why I think the feminine has been a little undervalued. It's often been referred to as the soft skills, right? I remember in college, it was like the majors that mattered the most were engineering and science majors and like communication and psychology, and those more soft sciences or soft majors, soft skill majors were not as valued as much. And I think that leans into society as well, when in fact, I believe that you can create massive success leaning into more of these soft skills, these soft gifts. They're extremely, extremely, extremely important. Empathy, understanding, receiving, right? Intuition. When you can empathize with someone, you can really understand what your customer wants in a way that someone with less empathy isn't able to. And you can create a product that really matches what they need. That's powerful. Same with being able to tap into your intuition. I believe intuition is how we collapse timelines and we move from A to B significantly faster when we are able to listen to our intuition and connect to that. And that's a feminine gift and a feminine skill. So I want to ground this in more of a tangible example. And I want to give you kind of the masculine way of creating and how it's traditionally been done. And then I want to explain to you how that differs and how the feminine creates. So the masculine creates in a more sequential way. So let me give you an example of how a man might launch a business versus how a woman or a feminine energy being might launch a business. So what the man might do, or a masculine energy, is map out the offer, right? Set the launch date, build the funnel, run the ads, do all of the doing, right? Step by step, doing. He moves fast, he creates quickly, and then he'll make mistakes and he'll adjust from those mistakes. And his feminine energy shows up, and on average, it's like a 70-30. So somebody that's really masculine on average would be like maybe 70% masculine, 30% feminine. But that's obviously going to vary from person to person, but that's sort of an average you can think of. Someone that's more feminine, it might be about 70% feminine, 30% masculine. When that imbalance happens, when we're feminine energy and we spend 70% of our time in our masculine, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel aligned. So for this man building his business, his feminine shows up when he slows down. He listens to his clients. He listens to his employees. When he breathes, when he takes a moment to kind of sit back and reflect and say, okay, is this how I want it to operate? It's more of that leaning back energy rather than that doing energy. Right? And we want to have a balance of both, because if he's just doing, he can burn a lot of money. He can make a lot of mistakes. We want to have that ability to lean back. What the feminine might do for that same business, say she's launching the same exact type of business, is maybe it's a coaching business. Maybe she'll bring on a few clients and she'll go really deep with those clients. She'll deeply understand them. She'll build relationships with them. She'll let the offer shape itself based off of those conversations, right? She's going to feel into what feels right for her about the structure of the business, of how to flow it, of how to create it. And her content is often going to feel more personal. It's going to feel more magnetic, right? It's going to evoke more emotion typically, because it comes from this place of this genuine connection, not just positioning and logicking the way through of how to build a business. Her masculine, though, is also important. She needs to actually do the things, right? Create the posts, price her offer, sell it and share it with people, which can be very feminine too. She needs to send the invoice. She needs to follow up when someone goes quiet. She needs to actually do the things. And this is where I see a challenge for a lot of women is they don't feel comfortable with this part. Like they love the ideas, they love the creating, but they don't feel comfortable when it actually comes to the rubber meeting the road and asking for the sale and putting their desires out there where they can actually be rejected in some way. So we need both. And I think what happens is there's really kind of two key ways that women get confused in this process. Oh, and actually before I go into that, I sort of want to go into sort of the ideation process that the female may go through when she's creating something. So this can work for you if you are creating a business or you are even creating a special project in your life, a book, a podcast, anything really. First, what typically happens is there's a longer phase of where she's kind of receiving the vision and she's receiving the insight and she's gathering kind of her own internal clarity. That phase is typically going to be longer. And I think about it for myself of when I launched my business, I was like, I kind of just launched it and I didn't do that. And then I look back and I was like, no, I actually did. I spent many years studying and understanding everything that I teach, right? That was me doing that process. And so people ask me how I started my business so fast and how I got clients so fast. It's because I had this almost like the being pregnant phase with the idea of my business and what I wanted to create for a while. So think of it as like the being pregnant phase, right? The ideation, the creation of the idea. And this process is going to be different. But what happens is when she's ready to birth that idea into the world, it's going to be more formed. It's going to be further along than it might be for a masculine energy where he's like, okay, I got an idea. I'm going to act on it. And then I'm going to adjust and I'm going to improve it as I go. She will also do that, but typically the idea is going to be further along. And it looks like she's done less work in the physical, but yes, actually she might have done less work in the physical because she's already done a lot of the work with her intuition, with her deep knowing, with her creative abilities, with this powerful energy that she has access to. Knowing that might be part of the process for you and not undervaluing that, not saying I should be further along. Gosh, I have this amazing client and we've been working together for about a year. And a big part of this journey, I've been telling her, I was like, you need to sit back and slow down. She has an extremely busy life. And I said, you need to create more silence for yourself. You need to create more space because she kept asking how she's going to achieve her goal, how she's going to achieve her goal. And I kept saying, I kept wanting her to pull it back. And she did pull it back. She created space. She took some time off work. She created space for herself. And she had the biggest breakthrough I've ever seen her have. She has total clarity on what it is she wants to create, the vision that she wants to create. She's verbalizing it. She's clear on what is getting in her way and what she needs to resolve. She has so much clarity than if she had just this whole time been trying to, figure it out. She gave herself that space. And that's something I want to encourage you to do. If you are feeling stuck, if you are feeling unclear on what your next steps are, maybe part of it is that you need to actually just sit back and allow space to receive clarity from the universe, clarity on your next steps, clarity from your soul. Women get confused. They kind of get into basically two traps. One is over-masculinizing, is saying, okay, I've seen all of these people be successful building their business, creating their success in this very masculine model. So that's what I need to do. I need to override that it doesn't feel right for me, that it's burning me out. I just need to grind and push and hustle. That is not the way that it has to happen. You can create success that way if that feels right for you, but there's another way. And it's through deeper internal connection. It's through receiving of ideas. It's through tapping into your feminine energy gifts. The other trap that can happen is over-feminizing, right? It's like, oh, I'm just going to sit back and lean back and receive, and I just attract. I don't have to do anything. That is BS. You still have to do things. You still have to show up. You have to clear those internal blocks. You have to overcome your fears. You have to put yourself out there. But part of it is maybe you slow down and give yourself space to actually receive rather than just doing. The real mastery is in the integration of these energies. That's why the most successful relationships have a beautiful balance, a beautiful dance of these different energies. And it can be from either partner, right? It's going to be dynamic. But the same is true within you. You're going to have the most successful life that you can have when you learn how to create the right ratio for you of feminine to masculine. For me, I know I need a big period of thinking and not even thinking of like receiving and being in stillness and connecting. And then I'll be able to create something. And I'm like, yes, it's done. And I can put it out there, right? That's how it operates for me. It hasn't always operated that way. I've had to do a lot of internal work for it to operate that way. But how does it operate for you? Where can you create more space in your life to receive more? So I want to share briefly just some of the things that can get in the way of creating success in this way, because I believe that it can speed up success for you as you begin to lean into whichever energy feels more right for you and learn how to create in that way. And something that can really get in the way is our fears and our limiting beliefs, right? If I believe I'm not worthy of it, if I believe that I can't do it, if I believe that I have to struggle in order to create success, those are all like little clogs that sort of gunk up your vessel and your ability to receive that clarity and that insight and really channel through and allow life to move through you to create what it is that you want. That is something that I help all of my clients with, everything that we've described here. And if that's something that resonates with you, if you're interested in going deeper into this, this is basically 4 pages of notes out of about 25 pages of writing that I wrote on this topic. So there's a lot more to this topic. We're just scratching the surface. Comment on this episode if this is something that you want me to create more episodes about. I'd love to. I love this topic and we can get a lot deeper into it. And if you want to go deeper into this for yourself, send me the word podcast on Instagram and I'll send you a 5-minute video about my coaching program, my community, where I really help women to create that next level of success in a way that feels aligned, helping you overcome those fears, overcome those doubts that get in the way so you can really create life in a way that's aligned for you. So I hope you've absolutely loved this. Please leave a review on the podcast, follow the podcast if this has been valuable for you. It's a really easy, free way for you to help support the podcast so I can make more episodes. I can go deeper with you. And I hope you've loved this. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.